Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we're going to talk about the Red Frieza Swap archetype. It's one of the older archetypes in the game. It came out in Themed Booster 3 back in 2019. 3 years ago, I think, of this month because it was January of 2019. It's a fun little archetype that's gotten a lot of direct and indirect support over the last couple of years, just because it's pretty open-ended based on just needing kind of like some Frieza cards instead of specifically named cards and that kind of stuff. So really, really fun, and it's getting some direct support with the new TPs that are coming out with set 16. So it's kind of warranting a relook and kind of a retry with it in my mind. So we're going to talk about a couple of the key cards from the archetype, and then we're also going to have an example deck list at the end and in the description of this video. And also, if you guys want to see some gameplay, make sure this video gets to 50 likes, and we'll make sure to do that and have it edited from one of the matches I had on my live stream earlier with this deck. But let's just jump on into it. So if you guys don't know the new card I'm talking about, we're talking about the Doria entering the fray. Auto, if your leader card is a red Frieza army card and you have 2 or more energy, choose one card in your hand, discard it, and you get to play a Frieza spaceship from your deck. So that's pretty nice. Frieza spaceship is a very great card if you get it out on turn 2. Every turn you don't get this out, you're just losing, I feel like, a lot of advantage to anything. And it's also kind of clunky if you have to run 4 of an extra card, because after that, all the other copies are just bad. So having the Doria not only be a 5k, but be a way to get the spaceship working, I think is fantastic for what you're doing. It also has an auto for 1 red that essentially lets you go into a 5-drop for cheap. Unfortunately, it's only a 5-drop red Frieza, and none of the targets for it are great. It's a mono red Frieza too. If it was just a red Frieza, or is it, even if it was like a Frieza with a cost of 5 or less, I could see this being a little bit more impactful. But we really only have 1 red 5-drop Frieza right now, and that card's old. That card's really showing its age, and I don't think it's really useful for right now. So I'm not super into it. So I think honestly, just having the effect for the spaceship is fantastic. And if you don't know what the spaceship does, essentially at the end of your turn, you get to play a 2-drop red army, Frieza army, and it has to be 2-drop. It's not 2 or less. It's just specifically 2. And then if you do, you get to draw a card. So that kind of helps you out a little bit, getting some more bodies on the field for free. Some of them have effects on the board as well. And you just get a free card draw as well. Like when I remember seeing this card at first, I'm like, man, this is busted. Being able to play a card for free and drawing a card, that seems silly. And it's okay. It's fine. Once again, if you got Spaceship out on turn 2, but that wasn't always the case. And you'd also probably have to be running 4 spaceships in this deck, which means you have a lot of bricks. I think the Doria fixes a lot of that issues with that kind of idea, and we kind of go from there. Also, there's also just an entire red Ginyu Force archetype with this, which we're not really going to talk about in this video, but it is something you can be doing instead of the Frieza chain. I just like the Frieza chain a little bit more with it. So that's what we're doing with today, but I think you can also warrant looking at the Ginyu Force kind of deck for it. But moving on to some targets for the spaceship. So we have this Clan Commander Frieza. This came out in BT9, so almost a year after this kind of archetype came out, and it's probably the best card to hit. So when you play this card, look top 5 cards from your deck, choose up to 1 red or blue Frieza clan among them and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So that pretty much means any Frieza or any cooler, which is mostly about half of your deck if you're running it like I'm doing. So this almost always hits, which is great. Just another draw 1 in this deck is fine. You can do that. The fact you get to play it for free is nice. The fact it's 15k for free is really nice. I think this is a really solid card. And it's a 2-drop Frieza, which means you can swap into it with the 1-drop if you need to. I think it just has a lot of compatibility with the deck. We also do have Frieza Mutable Menace. So this is kind of direct support for it, but also like making it turn into a red-blue. This I don't know. This is a really interesting card when it was printed. So pretty much activate main for 1 red, plays this card in its owner's draw pair, choose up to 1 red or blue Frieza card with an energy cost of 3 in your hand and play it. So it pretty much has swap, but the card goes to your draw pair instead of going to your hand. And then for 1 blue, if your opponent has 3 or more energy, you can choose 1 red or blue Frieza with any cost of 3 in your battle area. And this card in your draw pair, send them both to the warp to play a Frieza with an any cost of 5 from your hand. It has to be red, but not mono red, so this could do a red-blue, and this is kind of the better way to go into your big dudes. It is a little clunkier. Sometimes you do have to have a 3-drop Frieza out already, but that's not too terribly hard. There's ways to kind of get some cheaper ones out too, and I think this card is really fantastic. And it just got a reprint in the Mythic Booster, so it's not crazy rare or expensive anymore, which is why I use this art. This is the alt art from the Mythic Booster, but very, very cheap and easy there. And then Zarbon and Dodoria, I think, are also two good hits. The Zarbon is, I like Dodoria more because he has blocker. And he also has an effect that when he's KO'd, you get to play a Frieza from your hand for free. So you can use the Dodoria off the spaceship. You use as a blocker, they pop it, and then you can play the Clan Commander Frieza for free after that. Get the top 5, you get another body out. All that seems really, really good. We also do have Zarbon Hidden Potential. So when this card is KO, draw 1, then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards. It gets minus 15k power for duration of the turn. And something else that's unique is that our leader does KO cards. So they can KO either one of these on the Awaken side, and then you get the cycle and like the destruction or the extra body out for free. So I think there are some good ways to do into it. So like for example, you play the Doria and they don't swing over it this turn. You can use your leader, pop it, play the Mutable Menace for free, go into a 3-drop, and then use the blue energy to go into a 5-drop, and all in kind of one kind of swoop, which I think feels kind of nice. So these are the main hits for this. It does also, there is a little bit confusion of Frieza Clan versus Frieza Army just because they're very similar. So it is Frieza Army, so you can't use Cooler because Cooler is not Frieza Clan, because there are a bunch of good 2-drop coolers, but we can't really play any of them for free, unfortunately. But I think this is a really good start for us. So there we go there. And then lastly, looking just at these 5-drops that we can go into. So the Mutable Menace can go into either one of these. The Full Power Frieza is fantastic. So when this card attacks, choose all of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and they get minus 30k power for the duration of the turn. This pretty much is just a board wipe, which is fantastic for what you're doing. Being able to, and it just gets around barrier. It gets around most destruction. It can pop indestructible Zamasus, which is fantastic, and get rid of so many things just for swinging. And the only thing that stinks about it is it doesn't have barrier or deflect, but you can go into it pretty cheaply, and you can kind of play around your opponent's options for there. So you can kind of bait it out early and get this guy out. You also do have this Final Showdown Frieza. So this came out with the original archetype in the set. So crit double strike is fine, and it has pretty much a Cold Bloodlust effect. It's a really wonky skill. And I think the biggest thing about this is it's supposed to be kind of a control card, but it doesn't have any protection of its own. So I've never really found where I would want to go into this guy instead of Full Power Frieza, and the timing's never really worked out for it. So I think he doesn't deserve to be played, which stinks because the second half of the Doria doesn't see much action. But I think Full Power Frieza is still fantastic for what it does, and it's just a really good card for the archetype. So those are the cards I kind of wanted to kind of single out. And let's look at the deck list in a more broad sense. So here's the example deck list that I have for it. So we do use, once again, the old leader, which is okay. For an older leader, he's fine. So he has an active main to choose one card from your life, add to your hand, look top 2 cards from your deck to add 1 red Frieza Army card among them, and then place the remaining at the bottom of your deck. So you can whiff. Even though we run so much of it, it's not impossible. So that kind of stinks, but pretty much you awaken pretty quickly, and then you untap, draw 1, and you go into this guy. So this just swings, attacks, and draws 1, and then also activate once per turn. Choose 1 red Frieza Army card in your battle area and KO it. Then choose 1 card in your hand and place in your drop area, and then this gets plus 5k power until the end of your opponent's next turn. This also isn't once per game too, so you can potentially bean up every turn if you want to. I don't think it's always great because you do have to like pop 2 cards to do so, but it is a powerful kind of becoming a 20k leader with 4 life is pretty good. So I do recommend doing that. It just means your opponent has to put a little bit more effort into it. And then some more cards. So this is definitely a red-blue variant of it. We do have some cards to support that. For example, the check land for red-blue is Mecha Frieza, which is a Frieza. It's a clan and an army. So it just gets all it's super duper searchable. It's fantastic for what we're doing. And we also do have this cooler. So this is once again a Frieza clan as well. So being able to be searched off some things, mostly this 2-drop clan commander, but that's fine. This being able to kind of be defensive and aggressive at the same time. This is like probably one of the best arrival cards existing just based on stats. It's just that red-blue doesn't have a lot of pull right now, but it is a fantastic good card for what we're doing. So being able to drop this, maybe pop one of your opponent's cards, maybe 2, and then kind of go from there. Being able to get around barrier and give something minus 10k is very strong still. So I think that's good for where we're at. Some other cards we're talking about. So this 1-drop Frieza Death's Embrace, my goodness. When you play this card, you get to draw 1, and then active battle for 1 red. Choose up to one of your opponent's leader cards or battle cards. It gets minus 10k power for duration of the battle. This is not once per turn. This is a crazy good card for what it does, especially if we're playing this red-blue variant where we can untap our cards somewhat easily and then use that extra energy to kind of go from there. It's just great. I've used it before where I just pay 3 and then I can wipe my opponent's board because they've got 3 10 drops, right? Or 10Ks. So I think this is a good card for what it's at. You can't play it off free for the spaceship because it has to be a specific cost of 2 and not 2 or less. So you have to kind of hard cast this, but it's just a 1-drop. And you get to draw a card when you play it. So it's good for what it is. It is Frieza's army. It is Frieza's clan. So just more targets for that. I think it's good to go. Fun fact, you can also play this Mecha Frieza off the spaceship, though, because I don't think it says mono red. Actually, let me check halfway through. Yeah, they didn't even know what mono red was back in TB3. So, of course, it's just red. So, and when this card attacks, shoots up 20 of your opponent's battle cards or leader cards, gets minus 5k power. So it does things. It's not too bad on the board. And honestly, just get that extra cycle can be good. The other card to talk about is the Unending Onslaught. So this is a 3-drop Frieza, which is great for what it is. And then also active battle for 1 blue. Choose 1 red or blue Frieza clan in your battle area other than this card and return it to your hand to play this card from your hand. So you can kind of put things back into your hand, get this card out, and also choose 1 card in your hand, place in your drop area. When you play this card, choose it to 1 red or blue Frieza clan card in your drop area with any cost of 5 or less and add it to your hand. So that just means that like if you need to get rid of your like big boys early from like some card destruction or something, this can recycle it back to your hand pretty easily, and you can kind of go from there. Mostly just being able to cheat out a 3-drop for 1 blue energy is fantastic because then you can use Mutable Menace and go into your 5-drop for just 1 energy. So for 2 energy and some setup, you're able to go into a 5-drop Frieza pretty easily, which is kind of nice. So I do kind of like that interaction for what we're having. And it feels pretty strong. We're running 2 of the Frieza, Storm of the Blows. This is just a nice card to go into. You can Mutable Menace into this with the first effect for 1 red, and then just pop something with 20k power or less. It has Barrier, and then you can go into your Frieza pretty easily next turn for just 2 red. So I think that's fine for what it is too, and it can kind of be helpful. So I do like the idea of it. And anything else we really have to talk about? Not really. Death Bolt makes sense. Violent Rays makes sense. We're doing Radiant Sands just because it is a red-blue card. You can combo for free. Also, the way it's worded too, you get to choose if you want to play it, or you can choose up to 4 of your opponent's battle cards, place them at the bottom of their owner's deck too. So it's one or the other. The fact that you get to choose it and like the Wicked Saiyans is good. So you can kind of, if you need it to be just a big double strike crit for 40k, you can, or if you need your opponent to just lose all the cards on their board, they can do that too. Senso Bean's a good card. I hope that's not too big of a shocker for you guys. Kind of last cards to talk about. We do have this 2-drop Frieza with swaps and 2 or 3. It's okay, but it's not. I think it's just Mutable Menace is just better for everything it does. It's just way more flexible. I mean, this is a 15k if you want to, but it doesn't do too much. We already talked about Final Showdown Frieza, but if you want to play it, you can. And then also we do have a secret rare for this deck specifically. So it's a Quad Strike Ultimate. When your life is at 2 or less, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 3. When you play this card, your opponent reveals their hand, choose up to 1 card from them, and then place it in their drop area. Then choose all your opponent's battle cards with 40k power or less, ignoring Barrier, and KO them. So this is a fantastic card without Deflect. But you being able to just look at your opponent's hand and see what's in there, and if they have like just 1 card to out it, you can get rid of it, which is nice. It doesn't choose based on like if it's a battle card. It's just literally just 1 card, so there's no restriction for that, which is really nice. And we also, there's the new Vegeta Vegeta Secret Rare that's coming out too. If you want to run that, you can. But that's just thoughts on here. I think this is honestly just really solid for what you're doing. It's a really good red-blue version of the deck. It's very flexible. You have a lot of kind of lines, and it really kind of benefits you to kind of learn the interactions with the cards, and I think it's really, really cool. Like one of my favorites is that if the Sidoriya dies on your opponent's turn, you can play the 1 red Frieza at any cost of 2 or less, which means you can play this 1-drop. And then when you play this card from your hand, choose up to 1 one of your red leader cards or battle cards other than this, it gets plus 5k power for the turn. So you could do the Dodoria to pop this, play the Frieza for free, and then put on your leader on your opponent's turn. So you can have it at 20k for your opponent's turn, and then if you did its activate main on your previous turn, it would be a 25k for just playing the cards you're already playing. So I think that's kind of fun. I think there's some plays, and it can be kind of defensive if it needs to be, and then also put some pressure on when it needs to as well. That's going to be it for me. Let me know what you guys think about the deck. Let me know your own versions. Once again, there is an entire Ginyu Force version of this that I've not looked in or touched on, so If you want maybe me to look into that, I can. But I definitely like the Frieza version a little bit more, just because I like Frieza. But that's going to be it. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it. Damn it.